Greg heavily on the zombie apocalypse. Monday, today started off as a normal day. Me and my best friend Riley were playing to his wizard in my bedroom when a strange newscast interrupted our gameplay. Reports of the dead rising from their graves. Riley seemed pretty scared, but I was able to convince his fat eye that it must have been some sort of prank. About 20 minutes go by, and me and Riley both hear some noises coming from downstairs. At first I thought it was Mom and Dad, but they wouldn't usually make so much noise. I just shrugged it off as being Roderick moved some of his band equipment. But just as I thought that, I started to hear a faint groaning noise. Riley started to cry as he thought it was a spooky ghost. Myself, being more rational, thought it could have been someone who was hurt. So I walked down the stairs with Riley sobbing like a little B word behind me. As I got nearer to the kitchen, where the noises was coming from, I could hear a car pull up into the driveway. As I got to the window to see who it was, I saw Roderick in his van. I noticed how scared Roderick looked, which was really surprising to me. When I heard Riley start to scream, as I turned around, I saw someone had grabbed onto Riley and was trying to bite him. I completely froze when Roderick burst through the door and sucker punched Riley's attacker. Roderick managed to knock the poor fella down, but immediately he started to stand back up. I lifted Riley off from the floor, and the three of us ran into the kitchen. I slammed the door just as that thing was about to run head first into me, grinning its teeth like it was going to bite me. Roderick didn't even give it a second though before he threw the fridge in front of the door. I really yelled at him for doing something so stupid, but he just said that I should be thanking him for saving my life. You should be thanking me, Greg. I just saved your life. I had to admit, he was right. If he hadn't been there, God knows what would have happened to me and Rowley. I then pulled out my phone and tried to phone for the police. However, the call just kept cutting out, saying that an operator was unable to take my call. That was bullcrap. I turned to Roderick and asked what was going on. He told me that the zombie apocalypse had just happened and that the dead are walking the streets. At first, I didn't believe him until I remembered what had attacked Rowley. It then all made sense. Roderick said the first thing we should do is secure the house and kill the zombies in our hallway. I told Roderick that it was a really good idea, but that I had no idea how we were going to kill them. Roderick suggested we find Dad's pistol, but Riley said that we should just ask it nicely to leave. Obviously, I thought Roderick's idea was better, so we opened the cupboard under the sink and pulled out Dad's gun. I'd never held or fired a gun before, so I let Roderick do all the work. We all agreed that it would be a really dumb idea to just charge out there to try and kill the zombies, so we came up with a plan where me and Riley would open the door only enough so the zombies can poke their heads through. Roderick's job would be to then kill the zombies by blowing its ugly head off. It took all three of us to lift the fridge from the floor, and I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't shaking at the thought of the door opening. Over to Riley, who I could tell was about to cry, and give him a nod. We both cracked the door open, but for some reason, Riley decided to look through the gap. He began screaming as he let go of the door. Whatever was on the other side came flying at me, and I wasn't strong enough to hold it back. Even though I was completely peeved, Riley decided to bail on me like that, as a part of me didn't blame him. This thing was hideous. Roderick must have punched it really hard. In all the commotion earlier, I didn't really get a good look at it, but looking at it stumbling towards me was enough to make me sick to my stomach, and again, I just froze. Roderick ran up to it and put a bullet in its head. That was enough to send it hurling backwards and onto the ground right next to me. This time, it didn't get back up. After taking a moment to look at this thing's body, I turned to give Riley a piece of my mind for totally bailing on me just now and for putting my life into danger. But when I turned, he wasn't there. Me and Roderick both went into a panic, thinking he had left the house. When I saw his legs poking out from under the table, I asked him what he was doing, but that triggered some sort of emotional reaction from him, and he started saying how we should just leave him to die. Truth is, Greg, I'm not as strong as you or Roderick, emotionally and physically. The thought that my parents and everybody I love is dead, it's too much. I can't do this. I can't go on. I told him to stop being a wimp and help me and Roderick board up the windows in case more of those things came. Eventually, the promise of a box of drummies was enough to convince that fat flip to start helping us. Roderick quickly ran into the garage to get some plywood and tools so we could start barricading the doors and windows of the house, just so no more of those things could get in. One thing we hadn't realized earlier, though, is that the noise must attract these things, so when I looked outside, there was a horde stumbling over the house. I quickly ran over to Roderick, who then told me he had already seen it from upstairs. Apparently the horde was hundreds of zombies thick. There was no way we could possibly leave the house now. Roderick said we needed to get the windows boarded up as quickly as possible so that the house could stand a chance at resisting the zombies that was approaching. Roderick seemed pretty concerned about the amount of ammunition we had. We only had enough to take out a couple of these things, not nearly enough to take out a horde. As we were debating this, the zombies started to slam themselves into the walls. A few windows broke, but a wooden barricade seemed to hold. For the moment, we were safe. I think we all needed to rest. For Tuesday, none of us could sleep last night. Those things pounding at the walls. There's more of them now. Every moment I'm awake, I'm in constant fear that one of the barricades will give away, and that those things will get in and kill me. I tried calling Mom last night, but keeps going straight to our answer machine. I don't think they made it. Hello, you've reached Susan Heffley. Please leave. Roger keeps telling me that they're fast and they would have made it somewhere safe by now. Maybe a bunker where there isn't any phone reception. I doubt that though, since yesterday they left to go to the hospital with Manny to visit Grandpa. We haven't heard much of what's going on out there, especially since the emergency broadcast has just shut off. But it seems as though the hospitals would be the worst off areas, with all the different kinds of people rushing there for help. They're gone. I know they are. Holy crap! As I was writing this, I started to hear gunshots. I ran downstairs to help Roderick fend off the zombies that had just broken in. But when I got there, I could see Roderick looking out the window. Relax, it's just someone in the street. Turns out one of our neighbors got surrounded by the horde and was now having one last shootout. His guts didn't stop him from being overpowered by the zombies, however, and he was torn apart in the street. Ah! Help! Help! Please! Help! Rowley soon came over to see what was happening and suggested that we go out and help. Roderick shot the idea down straight away, saying that if we go out there, we'll all be torn to shreds. I didn't want to admit it, but he was right. Roderick pointed out how our neighbor had dropped his gun and that we needed to retrieve it. I thought this was a terrible idea, but Roderick made a good point, saying we needed another weapon and ammunition. Riley was also unsupportive initially, but he too eventually thought it would be beneficial to save another weapon with us. I soon pointed out, however, that it would be nearly impossible to make it past the horde. Roderick said that if we make enough noise on the other end of the house, the horde will be distracted, giving him enough time to run and grab the gun off the street. I had to admit, it sounded as though it could work. We need the gun, guys. We can do this. Roderick told Riley to go to the other end of the house and start banging on the walls. He also gave me the gun and told me to cover him. I told him that he should have the gun, but said he couldn't draw attention to himself, and that it would be better if I had it in case one of those things nudged at him. My hand shook as he passed me Dad's pistol, but I knew I had to do it. I couldn't let those things get him. Riley went straight to the back of the house and started making a lot of noise. For a second, I thought they might realize what we were doing and come crashing through the window. However, it seemed to work. The horde began moving. Roderick told me to help him tie some bedsheets together. Then he jumped from the second-story window. I watched as he ran across the porch, dodging some stragglers, but most of the horde were all on the other side of the house. I felt Dad's pistol shaking my hands. I didn't know if I could use it. Is taking the life of those things the same as a normal person? I don't know, but I shouldn't be thinking of that right now. Just as Roderick knelt down to pick up our neighbor's gun, one of those things lunged at him, grabbing him by the arm. I quickly lifted the pistol and aimed it. I hesitated at first, but seeing Roderick wrestle with that thing pushed me to do it. I fired the gun. His head exploded. Roderick looked stunned. Roderick dropped to the floor, his attacker falling on top of him. For a second I thought I might have hit Roderick, but I could see him begin to move. He pushed that thing off him and just started staring at it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what he was doing. Was he shell-shocked? Was he hurt? He soon snapped out of it, scrambling to his feet. He turned to run, but then looked back and picked up the gun. Luckily, he made it just in time. The horde must have heard the shot. He started pounding at the walls, harder this time. They were peed. Can they get peed? I don't know. Roderick was covered in that thing's blood. It wasn't red though, more like a dark brown. He didn't say anything, just turned and with a blank stare, he left the room. Riley was a bit shook after hearing the shot, but I comforted him, saying everything's alright. I had to admit, he did a good job. I let him know it. It's getting late. I should probably go to sleep. Maybe tomorrow will be a better day.